welcome to the Ultra Running Sam podcast. So quickly, our sponsors. We are proudly sponsored by Ugoku caps. You've seen me wearing them on the podcast. You can get the discount codes from me, send me a message. I'll send them to you. They're floating around. We're also sponsored by Phoenix head torches. Same thing goes. If you're after a discount code, just get in touch. There are there on the web, but if you want them personally from me, I will send them to you. And also, finally, we are proudly sponsored by Home Trails. So Home Trails is my YouTube series interviewing famous trail runners from hopefully around the world at some point. In the UK at the moment, where we interview them on the trail in the home trails. You understand what it is, don't you? You've listened to the show. That's hopefully turning into a bit of a brand, so keep your eyes peeled for that. Okay, on with the actual show. Robin, do that intro again.
Dun, 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 dun. Ultra running news.
There we go. Well, that's the tagline. Ultra running news. So, welcome to the Ultra Running Sam podcast. But it's the Ultra Running news episode with returning guest Robin, who's the reporter out in the field, getting all the news stories for us.
Got all the hot gossip right here, just ready to release to the world.
Yeah, there's some stuff's been going on this week in running. So obviously we're going to talk about UTMB Mallorca and what's happened with that. I'm still waiting for Charlotte to send me. Charlotte promised me like a little voice note or a text message saying sort of how she felt about having her race cancelled, and so I know how much she put into that, like 5 months of training. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about Matt Choi being banned from the New York City Marathon and a forever ban.
Yeah, interesting decision there.
Yeah. Harsh. Don't know. We'll discuss that. We'll discuss that. But what's caught your eye this week then?
Yeah, UTMB's Mallorca decision making is definitely been flooding through all of my running WhatsApps and over running Instagram, social media everywhere. Just in my opinion, an absolutely ridiculous decision to only offer a 50% discount on the next registration for the race. No mention of a refund or anything on the current race that they weren't able to do, that was decidedly dashed at the last hours before it was to take place.
Yeah. Was it in the small print of because the comments I saw about it were people saying when you sign up for a race, that's the risk that you take, that they put it in the race terms and conditions. When you sign up to a race, it says the race may be cancelled due to harsh weather, etc. But I suppose if you don't look at that fine print, you wouldn't know whether they did offer a refund or whether you get absolutely zero.
Yeah, I mean, I think it is actually in the fine print, to be fair, that yes, bad weather can be one of the reasons why it might not happen, which is why they do offer the cancellation insurance. But I mean, it's always hard to tick that box though, isn't it? Do you really want to pay even more to UTMB for one of your events?
Well, maybe people will now. Maybe this will be the thing maybe this was just like another UTMB money grab, and they've decided that, what's the best way we can make people pay for the cancellation insurance? Let's cancel a race last minute, and then people will sign up for that.
Yeah, and strangely, it was lovely weather for the weekend as well. I
There's
know
quite-
it was terrible, obviously, with all the flooding, etc. But it's
Yeah,
just
that's it.
rotten luck.
That's the point, isn't it? We've got to remember that, how many people, there's like over 200 people died in Spain, didn't there, from the flooding and everything. And it's unusual circumstances, isn't it? It's not like this kind of thing happens all the time and they've got the infrastructure to cope with it. Because I know my brother-in-law, so my sister and her husband, they're fortunate to have a second home out in Spain that they inherited, and he was saying that they just don't have the same sort of like storm like in like drainage infrastructure like we have because they're so used to they do have rain and stuff, but it's having that much rain in a short period of time. They just literally roads. I mean, you've seen the videos on TV and social media of just like streets looking like rivers and houses
Mhm.
looking like waterfalls as the rain came off them and stuff. So they're not prepared for that kind
Yeah.
of those conditions. So they probably in UTMB were probably thinking, in view of what's happened in Spain, maybe
Mm.
they thought this was the wisest decision to make. But obviously, not everybody agreed with that.
No, no, obviously not. I mean, as as a race director myself, obviously it would be at the forefront of your mind. You're like, I do not want to be responsible for anybody being caught up in any kind of major storm, especially on a really mountainous course where it can get really difficult to rescue people. And probably pretty easy to fall off in quite, dangerous technical trails. And Mallorca is, from what I remember from various YouTube videos of watching people on
Mm.
Golden Trail and stuff like that, hammering it across there, it could get incredibly sketchy and dangerous. So yeah,
Yeah.
you can see why they've done it. It's just how they handled it that was the worst way. They didn't send. I mean, they've got these sort of live trails apps and stuff. Most of my information, by the way, has come from Angela, Ultra Mum on the Run,
Yeah.
who was there with another friend of mine, Sarah, who ready to do the race, and they found out from social media, just from the Insta post, and
Wow.
didn't get an email for quite a long time after. Some of the 100 milers she mentioned, they didn't get their email until 11 p.m. the night before their 6 a.m. start.
No.
So they would have
You
probably,
wouldn't be seeing that, would you? If you're
no,
getting up for a 6 o'clock start race, there's no way. I mean, I wouldn't be awake at 11. Well, I wouldn't want
no,
to be awake at 11 o'clock the night before a 6 a.m.
no, you
start
wouldn't.
point. So you'd think you'd be trying to go to bed like nine, not
Mm.
between 9 and 10 o'clock. So you wouldn't even be looking at your phone, and you'd be trying your best to not look at your phone, wouldn't you?
Yeah. Yeah, there must have been at least 50 or 60 that turned up to that start line. I would assume before knowing that it was cancelled. But yeah, they could have definitely gone about that a lot better. I don't know what you're supposed to do cancelling a race this late, but
Yeah, it's tricky, isn't it?
it's very difficult.
What are the main things that people are annoyed about? So obviously, like the last minute cancellation, which I
Mhm.
suppose can't always be helped, can it? Because you can have things that literally would
Mm.
crop up within hours of a race starting that you'd have to take into account. And then everyone's annoyed about probably the communication that they didn't get that information quick enough. And then it's the fact that they weren't offering any refunds or, because of this
Yeah.
cancellation.
And also no alternative route plan, because normally sort of bad weather routes are quite easily enforced. And there's always two or three different versions of where you just don't go up as high if it's super bad. And they didn't even have any of those available for this race. There's a bit of mention in, I don't know how true it is, in Angela's message about it being quite difficult from protection wise on Mallorca to get permits, and they didn't seem to have the right permits available to have more than just their bog standard route.
Right.
So there just wasn't enough forward planning from UTMB there at all. Should this happen, it just all fell apart very quickly.
Mm. Is this just like hubris on their part that they sort of like we're UTMB, our races were, when the race is going to go ahead, or is it just a bit of naivety that I suppose? But this time of year, you've got to expect, even in Mallorca, you've still got to expect it's November, isn't it? So you kind of got to take into account that this could be a possibility. Surely they would have had, that's even like at UTMB in like in Chamonix, I suppose they have different routes, don't they, for
Yeah.
diversions and stuff. And most big races take that into account, don't they? So I wonder why they didn't have any alternative routes available.
No, I know. Yeah, I think so. That coupled with the fact that there's been no kind of refund is the worst part of it, really, from my perspective. Just especially from a company that's got so much money. as well
Yeah.
in comparison to other running companies. You'd understand if it was a small setup, we just can't afford to reimburse you. We've
Mm.
already spent most of the money on like setting up all the aid stations, etc. But I don't think they can really make that claim, can they? So they've very magnanimously come out and said, "We'll give you 50% off next year," which just isn't good enough.
Mm. Yeah, it's a bit of a slap in the face, isn't it?
Yeah.
They don't, they don't seem to do very well, do they, on the UTMB on this sort of like public relations
No. Yeah.
kind of thing? And you don't know whether it's, you know, I don't think it's, and I'm not sure if it's like arrogance that, they're such a big organization and they can get away with it, or,
Mm.
a lot of people spill a lot of hatred for them online, don't they? Like,
Mm.
and give some very strong opinions about them. But like we've said before, they're not going anywhere, are they? And do you think perhaps they're aware of that fact that they are such a major concern now that they're not going anywhere and they can kind of get away with these things a little bit?
I hope not. I really hope not. I'd like to see a little bit more humanity from them there, but it's just one little thing after another now, isn't it? There's no little good bits of news that we're getting to counteract all the bad. So it's making my entry into UTMB even more difficult. But I'm still unfortunately like a sheep gonna put my name into the ballot anyway, as will many others. So I mean, maybe there is no end to how much bad that they can do for some of us that will still just try and do these races simply because they've got the best routes for the most
Mm,
part in some of these places.
yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of argument you can do like Ultra Tour, Mont Rosa, and there's probably an ultra in Mallorca that you could probably go and do instead of this, isn't there? Maybe it just needs to be better advertised that you
Mm,
really don't need to flood towards these big major events.
mm. That's true. But the thing I always think about with these kind of situations is sort of putting the shoe on the other foot a little bit. That if they had gone ahead with a race and then something happened, like a storm, the storm did roll in,
Mm,
and it caused problems, how much abuse they would have got for that, for, oh, UTMB, they're reckless, they let a race go ahead when they should have cancelled it. When you think
mm.
about, all those people that died in that Chinese race where they
Yeah.
all got put out by a storm that they knew, I think they knew that the storm was coming, didn't they? Or they had warning
Mm,
of it at least, and they didn't change any of the kit requirements or anything like that. So a load of people were just sort of stranded in the middle of nowhere on a mountainside with no
mm.
like layers or anything, and obviously died of exposure. Do
Yeah.
you think do you think they're just overcautious, being overcautious with safety
Yeah.
because they're aware of the fact that if they did go ahead with the race and something did happen, but as it turned out, the weather wasn't bad at all, was it?
No, I think you're exactly right. That coupled with all the flooding and everything, I think they just panicked and pressed the red button and cancelled everything and didn't and maybe if they did have a plan B route, they would have gone ahead with that, but they didn't have one. So it was cancel or don't cancel and they took
What what
probably
what what did go ahead? So because was it a 50K that went something?
50K and the 25K still went ahead.
Hmm.
Apparently, there were quite huge bottlenecks on the 50K of up to 2 hours, it says here in Andrew's
Ah.
message on some of the technical sections. So I don't know whether that's because maybe they weren't sold out and they managed to reapportion people. I don't know. But if that's just the 50K in its planning just by itself, that's pretty shocking, isn't it?
That was bad. I mean, to have like a 2 hour bottleneck, that's like a serious amount of people. That's like it's like a
Yeah.
thousand people all trying to get into like a single track, get through a gate and go on a single track.
Yeah.
Mm, don't
I'd
know.
be mad.
Yeah, I know.
And
Like it when me and Ben went out to that ultra that we went to review for Kate at Run Ultra, we went out to Lake Como and there was a bit of a bottleneck with the start of that race.
mm,
Where you kind of started in the street and you went into the village and then literally you went around a corner in the village and then everyone was expected to get onto just like a single track trail that went up the side of the mountain, and you were waiting, and then even once you did actually get on it, everybody was moving. You're only moving as fast as the slowest person on that
Mhm. Yeah.
section, so you were literally just like trekking along when at that point you're like full of energy and you wanted to run,
Yeah.
but you couldn't because there's somebody in front of you. So, but
Mm.
yeah, it's tricky, isn't it? I think
It's all
I
right when you know the route, isn't it? And you know that you just need
yeah
to smash it that first 500 meters to get ahead.
yeah.
But if you're brand new to the race, you're
Yeah.
not going to have a clue, are you?
Yeah, that's true. Actually, that's probably why everybody set off. But then I just thought that's how everybody sets off at breakneck speed on European races. So just I'll know for next time to get to the front. Well, I don't know
Yeah.
about get to the front,
Well, it's all right if you're slowing other people down, isn't it?
but yeah.
You're going your pace. I've never had the guts to get to the front.
Yeah, amazing. So, how do you think UTMB are gonna? Oh, there's a bit of a pun there, isn't it? Whether this storm. What do
Honestly,
you
I
think?
think they'll just move on. I think they're done with it already. I think that's the offer, and that's all it'll be. They don't really have to pander to the masses, do they?
No, they don't. They don't really pander to the masses at all, do they? They
Yeah,
just they just get on the things and move on, don't they?
yeah. I mean, maybe if a couple people hound them with emails, they might get a little bit more, but I'd be surprised.
Mm.
I know that some people, Angela mentioned that she did have the race cancellation insurance, so I was
Yeah.
hoping to get 70% back of the race fee. But that was quite late in the day, so we'll see what happens with that. So maybe they might. That's supposed You're supposed to be able to get that even the night before the race starts. So we'll see what happens. I'd be intrigued to know if she still gets that.
Is that
So
is that if they cancel it or if you cancel it for a justifiable reason? How does that
uh,
work?
I don't know.
Is it just if they cancel it? Yeah.
Yeah, I think this was probably post them cancelling it.
Mm.
Um, so yeah, who knows? Who knows? But you know, if you had the cancellation insurance, then maybe you could claim I never saw that you'd cancelled it. It was me cancelling it. I fell down the stairs.
Yeah, who cancelled first? Yeah, you didn't
Yeah,
get fired, quit.
yeah, exactly.
Awesome. Yeah, so are they gonna, I don't know whether they can get any more stick than they get in general anyway now. So is it this just like another thing that everybody just has to chalk up to
Yeah,
how EMB handle things and good or bad? It's not really going to change anything, unfortunately, unless like that group of runners tried to initially do like a bit of a boycott of them, didn't they? And that kind of fell on its face because I think
yeah.
they obviously I had a meeting with them and just reassured them that they weren't going to take over the world.
Yeah, I mean they got rid of that's year, didn't they? Out of the sort of main
Yeah.
with the
Mhm.
UTMB sort of race. So who knows? Maybe it is possible, but only in a big petition, I think, would you see any kind of change. But at least they did show at least on one occasion. I think they just moved them to a smaller partner, but it was out of the main title, wasn't it?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Or maybe just Hoka just came along and offered more money, and
Yeah,
they
maybe.
then they then became the main sponsor because they gave them more money.
Hoka, the saviors,
Awesome.
hopefully.
Yeah, maybe. Right. In other news, then,
Yeah.
there's this story. I know it's not strictly speaking ultra running, but I just thought, in view of the zeitgeist of running influencers and um, people liking to kick off online, this seems to be like a bit of a theme, doesn't it? That people have strong opinions about things.
Yeah.
Um, Matt Choi, which I didn't even know who he was until this story came up. So
No, I
he's
didn't either, to be honest. But we probably both should have done because he runs with the cap on backwards, and we're both big fans of that. So
yes, he does. Yeah, I'm just looking at his Instagram now.
yeah,
So
he's
he's
got like
he's pretty he's pretty big into. He's got like 400,000 followers. So I'm not sure if any of those have dropped off in recent time because of
in their droves.
So basically, what he did was, which is what he seems to do all the time. Obviously, he's a running influencer. He films himself doing races and training and stuff. And he had like basically had a film crew follow him while he was running New York City Marathon.
Yeah.
Um, and obviously, people kicked off about it. So in looking at the comments and stuff, there was people saying that the like his film crew like blocked people getting to aid stations, like they couldn't get to get to drinks and stuff because his entourage was in the way. Somebody's claiming that somebody got injured by the guy on the it's his brother, isn't it? Was filming him off an e-bike or something.
Yeah.
So there's the post he put on about it. There is. I mean, there's a lot of comments when the comments aren't actually there, and you have to click on the comment icon, and then it shows how many comments are there. The
2,200, I see here. On
yes,
you that's it's quite something, isn't it?
quite a few comments of people sort of giving their opinions on, basically saying, what you've done is reckless. Uh,
Mm.
and New York City Marathon have they given him? Is it a lifetime ban they've given him?
A ban from all New York road races. For this year. They've not just disqualified him for this year. And there's no New York road race that he can do. Pretty strict ban, but I can understand why people are so annoyed about it because
Yeah.
having bikes on the course and stuff is very, hey, look at me, isn't it?
I mean, can you even, is that like a thing that you could do anyway if you like got permission, or could you ask and have someone on a bike to do something?
People do in other marathons around the world do have people riding on a bike next to them, handing them their drinks and stuff like their carb drink mix and stuff. It does exist, but New York doesn't have any paces even, so it's definitely against just the main rules of that race is that you can't have any extra help with you on the course,
Mm.
which is why you'll see well, it is quite a hilly marathon course as well in comparison to the other majors, but this one in general does have slower times, and I think that will partly be down to both paces and the course itself. But yeah, having people on bikes as well, that definitely would not have been signed off. There's just no way, especially for a world marathon major,
Mm.
that'll be the main reason. I mean, maybe you could have said I didn't want them there.
Yeah, denied all
Yeah.
knowledge of him. Yeah,
I didn't
possibly.
ask him to film me. But yeah, that'll be the main reason why that he didn't have permission for them to be there because they just would not have given that.
Mm.
I've not
Okay.
checked his posts afterwards, but I would be astounded if he'd managed to get that agreed. Otherwise, why would he be banned?
Well, I mean, it's like the video he made is that's like this like the most recent video he put on was him apologizing basically.
Okay.
Uh, And then the previous video is the video that he's put on. Well, there's quite a few in there. There's quite a few videos from the marathon, like before and during and after and stuff. So people are saying, you apologize and then saying you'll never do it again, but you've still left all of your videos up of you doing it. You're still using all that golden content.
Yeah. Well, exactly, yeah, because it's such a big story. It's probably the biggest story that's ever
Yeah.
happened for him. I bet his followers have gone up. Yeah, to be fair to him, I see a quote here. He did apologize for everything, impacting people going for PBs, blocking people getting water, endangering other runners with the bikes on the course.
Mm.
Uh, but still, he shouldn't have done it, should he?
No, no. What's your thoughts on? Obviously, he shouldn't have done it, but what's your thoughts on the ban and everything? Do you think they've kind of made an example of him to sort of put other influencers off? Because it does seem quite harsh, doesn't it, to be banned from? I mean, if that's his thing, road running, to
Yeah.
be banned from all, it's the equivalent of like me or you being banned from all trail races in the Peak District.
Oh, trying to really hit home there. How would you feel? Oh, then I'd be pretty devastated. Yeah, does he live in New York? I don't know.
Well, I don't know. I don't know enough about him. I should have
Uh,
done a bit of research, really.
yeah. But it does seem, on the face of it, does seem pretty harsh. I would have when I read the story, I expected it to say banned from New York Marathon, or at least banned for the next 5 years, or something like that. Not banned from all New York road races forever.
Yeah, because people that get done for like doping don't even get banned for that long, do they? Like forever, for,
No, doping bans are ridiculous, isn't it?
like 4 years or something, something
4 years, some up to 10 years sometimes, forging their medical records and all that sort of stuff.
Mm.
But yeah, forever. So New York, they really didn't like it. But I mean, there's 49 of the states. I'm sure he can find some other road races.
That is true. Yeah, he can always go somewhere else. And maybe this will be like the thing that pushes him into doing ultras, unless
Hmm,
he already does ultras. I don't know.
maybe I did see he did lose his sponsorship from Runner, the training app as
Yes.
well, which is
Yeah, I
quite
saw that.
that must have been a big money hit for him as well. So
Mm.
yeah, no wonder he's apologized. Hopefully trying to win them back round.
Yeah, maybe. Right. Just going back to the UTMB Mallorca thing. So Charlotte, so she's I asked her to give us like a bit of a quote for, how she felt about what had happened because she'd been training for like 5 months or something, and it was like basically her A race for this year.
Yeah.
Um, so she sent me a voice note. So I don't know whether to just play this into the microphone. Don't know whether this will need to be edited out or not. I don't know what she's going to say in it, basically. So um,
Go for
we'll
it.
see. We'll see what happens. Let's see if this works.
Basically, what I was going to say is ultimately, I do agree with the decision for the safety. You can't mess around in mountain ultras with weather like that. The Friday, it became clear the storm was extremely bad and the 100K couldn't have gone ahead. The controversy was that everyone was told no transfers, and then the elite started posting that they had been put onto the 50K or the 100 miler. When it came to the 100 miler, I just felt like they should have been they should have updated people with photographs just to show, the conditions of the mountains, because when it came around to it, we'd all gone to bed ready to do they'd amended it to 100K. It was obviously the 100 miler, they cut to 100K, and instead of starting at 10 p.m. at night, we were going to start at 6 in the morning. Everyone had gone to bed. They cancelled it just before midnight because they said, it's dangerous in the mountains and whatever. I think if people had seen photographs and some evidence, people would have been more understanding, because it was just then hard to see that we were meant to start at 7 a.m. and then, 6 a.m. And then this 50K went ahead at 7 a.m. So it was just hard because that day was really sunny, and everyone was like, well, if the 50K's got ahead, why couldn't the amended 100 miler, which was now 100K, go ahead? And then the way I see it now, they have offered, which is good. They've offered 50% off of next year. However, is it Iran? It's the same race organizer. They all got their running stones still, and had an opportunity to transfer on the race weekend. No one was offered these transfer on this race apart from the elites, and no one's been offered running stones. So for someone like me, running stone, I'm only wanting to do UTMB through a podium finish anyway, an athlete entry. So for me, running stones don't matter as much, but I can understand for the people that travelled there just to get their stones, that's a bit of a kick in the teeth when other races which have been cancelled have been offered the stones. So yeah, it's hard because it takes such a long time to train for a race like this, and to have no solution. I think there should definitely have been a bad weather route put in, like just planned before, for a situation like this, because the day of our race, I really do think it could have gone ahead. A lot of people did go out and do much of the route and they didn't see any issues. But I think a lot of it was due to there was 2 British tourists that died in September in a flash flood. So they obviously had that on their mind as well, and respect to what was going on or had been going on in Valencia earlier that week. I just think ultimately a bit more communication, and had there been photos of the conditions of the mountain so people could really understand what was going on, would have given people just, been a bit happy with the situation. Because imagine we all went to bed, you know, you're up at 4 a.m. for a 6 a.m. race. We've all gone to bed and they announce at midnight or just before midnight that the race is cancelled. We were all sleeping. So I found out at 4 a.m. when my alarm went off. And it was just disappointment after disappointment. Even if it's not included in the podcast, this is just a bit random. Just say certain things if you're still recording and it's not too late. But either way, I'm just updating you on what I think. And I mean, at the end of the day, I didn't want to be out running with any risk. Like the Friday night, they 100% made the right call by postponing it because it was still quite bad weather. The Friday was just very bad thunder lightning. But the Saturday was beautiful. And like I said, the 50K went ahead at 7 a.m. So I really do think that our 100K route could have gone ahead at 6 a.m. Or they needed to reroute it. They shouldn't be going over ravines or any riverbeds in a race where it's being planned for November when they typically get a lot of rain. These things, they just need to be planned better. And a lot of people are using, obviously, the Iran, hopefully I'm saying it right, it's another race. It's in the Pyrenees. It's the same race organizer, and they've cancelled twice due to bad weather. And they've been given their running stones and were offered transfers and things. So I just think comparatively, it's not been handled as well as that event. So there's a screenshot that I somebody basically articulated it all quite well. I'll send you it.
There we go. Did that come through okay?
Yeah, that was great. Yeah. Valderan, she means.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. So she's got the same concerns, then, hasn't she, about. But it was interesting that the race went ahead for the 50K and stuff, and that day was okay. Possibly, if you could put a 50K on, then why can't you put 100K on? Even if it was like you made everybody do the 50K route twice and something like that.
Yeah, could have done. Yeah, it's weird how they cancel the 100K and then shift the 100 mile to 100K. Like, how does that make any sense? I'd be fuming as the 100K entry as to why the 100 milers get to run a 100K route and you don't.
Weird.
Very, very strange decision, that one.
Yeah. Oh, so I'm just not ignoring you. I'm just replying to her on the message, just saying thank you for sending it through, because she was like, "Oh, I'm really sorry I didn't send it in time." I was like, "Don't worry, I've just played it down the mic."
Yeah, we've done it. We've done it. No, that was really good. Really interesting. Yeah, I agree about the photo too. Yeah, just a couple of images just to back up the decision. I mean, it might be quite difficult to get someone up high to take a photo. I don't know, in a thunder and lightning storm. Maybe that's the reason there. Who knows?
Yeah.
But yeah, the next morning, sunshine and rainbows. It could have probably gone ahead. Did they
Yeah,
need
and
to?
it's
There's
harsh,
probably
isn't it?
isn't
You've gone to bed like fully in race mode,
Mm,
and you've gone to sleep, and you wake up at 4 o'clock thinking, it's game time. Um, and then you find out that it's cancelled just then, and then that day turns out to be like a gloriously like sunny day, and another race goes ahead. You're just
mm.
a bit naffed off, aren't you?
Yeah, it's not what you need, especially after you've flown all the way there and you're super excited about doing a
Yeah.
beautiful foreign route.
And then I know she has like put a lot into that race as well. So it's been like her a race all
Mm,
year that she's really trained hard for, and she'd got like really high hopes of doing really well.
mm.
So yeah,
I
it's
spoke
just a
to
bit.
her just before UTS, before she set off for the 100 miler
Oh yeah.
earlier this year, and she was pretty nervous for that. I think it was quite the experience for her out there after having smashed a couple of the other 100 milers that she'd done. But yeah, I didn't know this was her A race of the year. So what a disappointment that must be.
Yeah, it's a shame, isn't it? Oh dear.
Yeah,
Anyway, we'll move on in life and
yeah.
in the podcast.
All right.
Right, so have you got any like final bits of news? I know I've got a couple of bits of personal news, but it can wait if you've got something.
I don't think there's anything else. No, I'm doing cross country tomorrow. That's my only other bit of news.
Nice. Where's that?
It near just South Manchester in a big muddy field, Withenshaw.
That'll
Yeah,
be hard.
it will. It will. The level of athlete at cross country never fails to astound me.
Mental, aren't they? Yeah.
People are incredible. Yeah.
Yeah. You get people like Tom Evans turning up as well, don't you?
Yeah. Yeah. And probably wouldn't even win. You never even know.
Yeah. What's your shoe of choice for that then? Because that's a tricky one, isn't it?
Oh, I've only got mud claws for mud at the moment when there's that much mud.
Yeah.
But all the super fast kids are wearing spikes, but I've never wanted to invest in a pair of spikes.
It's full commitment, that is, isn't it? Going full
Yeah.
spot.
No, I don't think I'm quite good enough to swan up to the start line in them, to be honest.
Well, you got to put yourself out there sometimes.
Need that little bit more confidence.
Got to believe in yourself. Believe
Yeah.
believe in the spikes.
Maybe I can finish 86th instead of 87th.
It all helps. It all helps.
Yeah.
Every little helps, as
Yeah.
Tesco tells us. Yeah. So my news, obviously, we've talked about this already, is that Jamil Curry followed me on Instagram.
Oh,
Woohoo!
yeah.
That
Very
was
jealous. Very jealous.
so I didn't realize that the reason why that I think the reason why he followed me on Instagram is because um some of my footage from my home trials video, that a documentary I made with Jasmine Paris.
Mm.
So this big um Instagram page called Bymaximise. So I'd never heard of them before, but I was tagged in this reel that they made all about um the Barkley marathons and stuff.
Yeah.
So they actually used some of my footage. So I didn't know they were doing this. So they obviously like cut it out of, download it on YouTube or something and cut it out and
Yeah.
use it. So I was like, why have I been tagged in this? That's weird. So I watched the video and realized that they'd like taken some of my black and white footage of when I interviewed her and thrown
Brilliant.
it in and even like overdubbed some of the audio that I'd like recorded into other bits of videos. So they've done like a really nice job of it actually, and I've like reposted it on my story. But they like physically in the post they tag Gary Robbins and then me as being like contributors sort of thing. So obviously I think Jamil Curry just saw that and just
Yeah.
thought, I've got to follow this English guy. He's
He's alongside Gary Robbins. He's got to be a big deal.
he's got to be a big deal if he's in the same echelons as Gary Robbins.
I hope you keep that as a memento. I'd get that
I've
framed
got the
and put it on.
yeah, I've took a screenshot of it and I'll keep it as a yeah.
Yeah.
And also another thing that happened to me today is I got a message off Rich Roll,
Whoa.
and this is
Oh,
That's because if you'd seen my story today, so I was listening to the Single Track
yeah.
podcast with David
Mm.
Roach, and on it they obviously talk about the fact that David Roach was interviewed by Rich Roll some
Yeah.
weeks ago after he won Leadville.
Mm.
And ever since then, if you listen to anything with David Roach, he always keeps mentioning the fact that he's done this interview with Rich Roll, but it hasn't come out and nobody knows when it's going to come out. So basically, I sort of tagged Rich Roll in this post
Yeah.
about the podcast and sort of said, has he accidentally deleted the episode? And
Mm.
and he like messaged like literally like almost instantly like replied to this story that I'd put on, thinking, he's how many I don't know how many million followers he's got, but
Probably quite a few.
why
Yeah.
I don't even know how he even saw the tag
Yeah.
basically. You'd think that would get lost in the ether a little bit. So just some random English guy with
Yeah.
no followers, just tagging him. But basically, he sort of gave me all the reasons why the podcast hadn't come out yet, and I was like,
Wow.
um. But interestingly, I forwarded the message to David Roach, and he was like really pleased that he'd found out some information about when the podcast was coming out.
Hey, well, there you go. You connect
Yeah.
dots.
I'm connecting people. This
Yeah.
this is me now. So this week, I'm dealing with Jamil Curry. Connecting Rich Roll with David Roach and stuff. This is just it's a sign of things to come, obviously.
Sky's the limit. for you, Sam. You've only just begun.
It's been good actually because I've been having a bad week this week because my the other thing I've been whinging about this week is my knees are hurting, and it's so you know I've over the years I've had a bit of trouble with one knee specifically, but I thought those days were like completely behind me, and I can't understand why not one knee but both knees were hurting and my shoulder was hurting. And then like, I was getting random pains in my ankle and stuff, and I'm thinking, what's going on? And I realized that I've started taking two supplements like a week ago, and one is trans res. What's it called? Res. What's it called?
On a trans resveratrol.
Yes, that's it. Yeah,
Yeah.
trans resveratrol. That, and also NMN, which is like another. So they're supposed to help with like inflammation and like mitochondria health and stuff.
Hmm.
And the resveratrol thing, that's like a big like anti-aging thing. And obviously, you know, I'm in my 40s now, need to think about these things. But
Very good.
it's another thing that's supposed to be really good for just like mitochondria and stuff. Started taking them, like unbeknown to me that some people have like a reaction to it, where instead of it like helping with inflammation, it actually causes inflammation. So if you're prone to inflammation in like certain joints and stuff, because I couldn't
Uh,
understand why I used to have like a bit of a dodgy shoulder from years of like wakeboarding.
right.
I had like a in true style of me doing going all in with stuff. I ended up getting a call it a subclusion where your joint comes out of your. So
Oh,
my shoulder came out of its joint like momentarily and went back in again. And ever since then, I've always had issues with this shoulder.
right.
But that had gone away for like years, and then suddenly I was like, "Why is my shoulder hurting when I'm running? That's weird." And my knees are
Yeah.
hurting, and my ankles are hurting. And basically, I felt I go you like go on Reddit and put these two things and basically like everyone's like don't take it, it'll you know loads and loads of stuff about joint pain.
Mm.
So yeah, so I've decided that I've stopped taking them now. I'm just gonna have to just age gracefully and not
Yeah.
take
I
supplements.
mean, yeah, as opposed to anti-inflammatories, you've been taking an inflammatory. Yeah,
And
that does
inflammatory,
sound like
yeah.
the worst thing for a runner
Yeah.
to
Weird, isn't
start.
it? You know,
Yeah.
for some people they swear by it and say that it's really helped them with
Mm.
inflammation and stuff, and other people are like, do not take this if you struggle with like bad joints.
All right.
So basically, I'm having a forced down week this week. So I was hoping to like push up into like I'd planned to like push into the 80 plus miles this week for mileage and get back to the old days of when I used to do like consecutive like 80-mile weeks. And
Right.
well, that's not happening now. I'm going to be doing about 30 miles this week.
I've just had to times that by 1.609 to see what it is in Ks.
What is that? What is 80 miles in?
128.72K,
Yeah,
which would be loads. I'm doing like 50K a week at the moment, so as to not aggravate anything uh,
yeah, that's
in my
probably a good
Achilles.
idea.
Yeah.
Hmm.
To
I'm a
get,
slave. I'm a slave to mileage with ultra running, and I always feel my best when I'm around that point, like doing about between 75 and 80 miles a week. That was always my sweet spot
Mm,
for training, and if I could always do that as like base miles and then throw in some speed work, then I was always ready for races then.
absolutely. I would love to get up to like that level of mileage. That'd be fantastic.
Do it while you're young.
Yeah. I'm not that young.
I don't know how old are you?
37.
37. Yeah. So I've got a couple of years on you. I'm
Yeah.
40, 45 in next month.
All right. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
I've got some time to maybe win a race of my own then.
Yeah, but I peaked like in my late 30s. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I better get going then.
Awesome. Right. Cheers for coming on, mate, and giving us a roundup of the I know you obviously do your own running round Robin's running roundup, so
Yeah.
having you come on and do this and letting the listeners know what's going on in the world of ultra trail running and running influencers, it's yeah, we're doing a needed service to the community, obviously.
We are, and they will be very thankful, I'm sure.
I'm sure they will. Right,
But
you
yeah,
enjoy
thanks for having me on.
enjoy your cross country race, mate, and I'll see
Yeah.
you next time we have a chat about what's going on in the world.
All right, nice one.
Cheers, mate. Bye,
Cheers.
everyone.
Bye.
Bye, 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 bye.